we should get the same details, but with is the account in debt. Account in debt equals account in debt is false. Good. So you can add that to a string there, and you can print it perfectly. But what if we want to say if the account is in debt? Now, obviously, variables and statements and if conditions and that are very different. So I'll do this very briefly because I'll have another set of lectures on conditions. But let's just briefly do this. And if you don't get this bit, that's all right. You go to the conditions lecture. But it is quite self-explanatory. We can say if in debt, and we can print system.out.println, and then we can pretend it's urgent, you know. Revoke overdraft. Right, so if we run that, if he's in debt, it'll print revoke overdraft. Of course, we know he's not in debt, so it doesn't print it. We can put a little else here. Again, as I say, check out my lectures on if, else, while, then, all of that. But briefly, just to demonstrate the point, we could put, oh, he's not in debt, send him an offer for a new credit card. Because they do that, don't they? Banks use everything against you. Right, so he's not in debt, so they're going to send him an offer for a new credit card. But let's briefly say that actually there has been one major cost we forgot all about, and money. And let's say that Jim Smith has a drug problem. Money spent on drugs. He likes his comics, his toys and that, but he spent $5,000 on drugs. Well, he's going to be in debt, isn't he? So we run that. Oh, we forgot to add it to the equation, right? So nothing has happened. So let's put this into the total spent this week. And he's actually he's going to be down on his funds now. Unfortunately, spends too much on drugs. And when we run it, it will say account contains minus 122 pesos or pesos. Account in debt false. Send him a credit card. But why is that? Well, that is because in debt was set up by us. We just said no, he's not in debt. What we actually want is to check if he's in debt or not, realistically. So let's just do it here. We know that all of the bank stuff is finished here, right? So we can even put a comment to that. Oh, that's the end of the account logic there, right? So we can say, give this a comment, say, print out the info. You can keep these sections nicely separated just to help your brain work out what's going on. All the variables, you can even do that. Now, maybe your computer science teacher will tell you off for that. But you can separate code wherever you want. The comments are designed for you, for your human ability to help you. So make the most out of them. You know, write an entire paragraph in there if you need to explain to yourself what's happening. Just do it. When I do a code summary of my code, I end up with, well, let's say I have like 25,000 lines of code. There's another 13,000 lines which are comments. So probably 50% of my output line-wise is, a third of my output line-wise is comments. So remember that. You need it. Because you come back, it's like being a detective. You need to remind yourself what's going on. That's why you name these variables so well. And that's why you leave your little comments like deduct the bills, so you can go back and you don't have to do so much detective work. You can like, oh, someone's left all the clues right here. I've got it now. Anyway, what were we doing? What we were going to do is, after all of the account logic is finished at the bottom, we're going to say if, and again that's an if. If you don't know what I'm talking about here, don't worry, just look at it and think, well, it's kind of obvious, and wait for the other lectures. If the bank balance is less than 0, that's what that means, less than, the little bit on the left is tiny and the bit on the right is big, so you know that's what it means. That means the condition on the left is going to be smaller and the condition on the right, which is bigger. You can see that in the shape of the arrow. Obviously greater than is the exact opposite. So I can put, if bank balance is greater than, the left side is large, the right side is small. But in this case I want less than. If bank balance is less than 0, well then yes, unfortunately, he's in debt. So you take that value, in debt, and you say equals true. Ah, okay, so now he is in debt. So we run that, and instead of trying to give him a new credit card, it tries to revoke his overdraft. And no doubt sending guys over to his house to steal his TV, whatever they do these days in your country when you run out of money. And that's why we're learning Java, because it's actually a good money maker. It's a good, healthy thing to learn in modern day. Right now it's powering most of the devices. You'll make a lot of money if you persevere with Java, and all you have to do is get these building blocks under your belt. And it just takes a lot of time, a lot of sitting and doing silly things like this until it really clicks. But as you can see, if in debt is true, which it now is because he spent that 5,000 on drugs, then it will print revoke overdraft. Otherwise it will send him a new credit card offer. So we've pretty much covered integers, how to add to them, how to declare to them, how to take away from them, the little tricks we can use. We've covered strings, how we can put things in them, how we can add them together, how we can put a new line in them, and we've covered booleans, how you can check a condition and assign it to true or false. Of course here we could put else in debt equals true, but we don't need false, but we don't need that because at the top here we have already declared it to be false, so we don't explicitly need that, but we can put that in for completeness. And we've covered a small amount of conditions. I didn't really want to go into conditions, but it's actually very difficult to demonstrate booleans without talking about ifs and else, because a boolean literally is only that, true or false, on or off. So booleans are very simple. You can almost think of them as the gates within the chips, within the computer, but I wouldn't start thinking on that level, because that's a level too deep. What we're trying to do is think of in an abstraction layer. We're abstracting away from the underlying things. We're thinking in terms of integers, strings, and booleans, and you can actually write most of your business logic for any big app or something like that with int, if, boolean, string. You can write most of the major business logic that companies are paying the good money for these days. And the games that are all written out there, they're mostly integers, strings, ifs, you know. It's so weird when you realize the tiny building blocks. Most everything is built from ifs. If this, do that, while that, do that. Call this method. That method might generate, I don't know, an entire frame for a computer game. But it might be a library that you never even have to look at, you know. You're just writing simple business logic and getting back the joy of being able to control the logic and define the logic and make apps, games, anything you want from simple stuff like this. So please check out my other lectures and articles. I have a wide variety of subjects covered. I talk about many things within the software engineering industry, GUI development on Android, on J2ME, on Codename One. I try to do a vast course of stuff that won't get you bored or tied down and not be too dreary. You know, I like to be excited when I code. I like visual action, things like that. I like GUI design. I like the fun elements, controlling cameras and operating robots. All of this can be done from Java. That's why it's my favorite language. So if you check out my other videos and hopefully sign up for my course, that would be great. Or if you're already signed up and that's why you're reading this, then I hope everything's going well. That's why you're hearing this. And drop me a line on the forums and that, and any questions, please do ask, and I will spend a lot of time trying to make that clear. And just let me know if there's any problems with the video or anything like that. Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.